Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, we hear from three patriotic Americans who are standing up for the children in their local area of Gwinnett County, Georgia. Dina, Brenda, and Karen have gone toe-to-toe and nose-to-nose with their school board, and they're winning. But even as they say, it's going to take a whole lot more to ultimately win, and perhaps winning involves letting the entire K-12 system crumble under the weight of its own immorality. The three of them discuss their county's actions, the arrests that occurred during their board meetings, the dramatic police presence, the nefarious plan called Education 2025, and how the entire K-12 environment and the very people who work within are destroying it without even knowing what they're doing. Dina, Brenda, and Karen are standing up for the children of Gwinnett County, Georgia, even if the other parents and students themselves don't realize what is happening. The actions of these women needs to be applauded, and we need more like them. So give this conversation a listen, have a great weekend, and I'll catch you on Monday.
So my name is Dina Snyder. I'm a 24-year resident here in Gwinnett County, Atlanta, right outside of Atlanta, about 40 miles outside of Atlanta, northeast. Gwinnett County is the largest county in Georgia, and we have right under 1 million residents. Our school district has about 180,000 children, 22,000 teachers and staff. And
one of the largest in the country.
One of the largest in the country, actually. And just to note, Georgia is purple now. I mean, it's very purple. It's leaning blue, and they're coming for us. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind they are definitely coming for us. With me today, I have Brenda Stewart. Brenda, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I have 3 kids enrolled in the Gwinnett County Public School System. I actually was born and raised in Atlanta and then left for a good while, over 10 years, and then came back and got the kids in school here. So since we've been back, we came back to the Atlanta area in 2012, and I've had the kids, so this is all they've ever known. And it's been okay until the last few years. So,
And then we also have Karen Perkle. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Okay, hi. I'm Karen Perkle, and I have been a Gwinnett County resident for 52 years. I'm 56, if that tells you anything. And I have one child who was at Gwinnett County Public Schools, but because of all this crapola that's going on, to put it nicely, we've pulled her and placed her in a Christian private school.
Yeah.
And she's in 9th grade.
Yeah. So anyway, our story really began with the 2020 election. We had a wonderfully solid conservative Board of Education. Our superintendent had been with the school for decades, grown with the school, had made the school very successful. In the 2020 election, 2 of our seats flipped. So now we have a majority. We only have 5. We only have 5 board members, which is incredibly small for such a big school district. But 3 of them now are liberal and radical. Yeah, not even liberal.
Yeah.
They are radical. They just want to, make us submit. And so it started with getting our kids back to in-school learning, and we were able to make that happen pretty quickly. And then in January, when this new board took over, by May, we were done with the mask. We knew it was a farce. We knew it was a, submission tactic. And May of 2021, we rallied, and we took an
resurrection.
They coined it the insurrection, but some of them call it a resurrection. So I prefer resurrection, because I do think that we really rose from the ashes to rear our heads and say, you know what, we're done with this. We are not going to take it anymore. We took Governor Kemp's executive order, which clearly stated at that time that any mask mandates that were more severe could not stand against his executive order. So we showed up with the executive order and no masks. and they went ballistic. We were very calm, but it was a shit show. I'm not gonna. I mean, there's no other way to explain it.
Yeah.
But they actually the board exited the room and did their board meeting in a separate room, and the cops would not let anyone in unless you had a mask on. So after that, it was game on for both sides. And we quickly realized that we went from 5 school resource officers at the meetings to 30, which equates to almost $90,000 a year just on cops being present at a meeting once a month.
Let me jump in real quick and say also, this is Brenda. It's 30 SROs that are legal, they carry guns and tasers and all that kind of stuff.
Certified.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a sheriff's deputy in the parking lot, right? That's what we've seen. There are at least 15 additional administrators. So all the assistants who, even to this day, until the last meeting, have sat throughout the conference room and monitored mask compliance.
Yeah. So it went 0 to 90 pretty quickly. So we thought we really need to band together and figure this out. So we started with affidavits. We sent everyone affidavits. In fact, there were many comments by the administration that they don't need any more affidavits. They've had enough of affidavits. And so we went from affidavits to filing bond claims against our superintendent, which, let me back up, our committed superintendent of decades, 28 years, they fired him. They paid $500,000 to buy out his last year of his contract.
He was retiring.
And they could
80 years old.
Yeah, they could not let him, do his last year. They had too much work to do, I guess. So we brought in they brought in a superintendent from Washington State, from Kent County. This guy is abhorrent. He was ridiculed out there for taking kickbacks from a vendor, pretty much had a vote of no confidence from the teachers. They were getting ready to fire him, and he exited stage left and came to us. And he was turned down by a school district right nearby us.
What's our budget? $2 billion?
Oh, yes. That's the other thing. Our school budget is $2 billion, Sean. $2 billion.
Wow.
So we have to have fiscally sound people running our budget. This guy got fired because his school district out in Kent, Washington, they were having to lay off teachers because this tiny little school district, which now has had thousands of withdrawals by students, parents smartened up, even in Washington, where they, lean left, they didn't like it. And so this is who is running our school now. So we come to October of 2021. And I'm going to let Karen tell you what happened, because it led to her arrest, not once, but twice. And one thing that Karen did not tell everyone is that she's a retired sheriff deputy. So, she forgets about that. But
I don't forget.
Anyway.
I just sometimes block it out.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to let Karen tell you what happened at the October board meeting that led to her subsequent arrest.
Okay, so I'm going to back up just a little bit and say that I was not at the May meeting. In fact, I did not start going to the meetings until August, when they put the mask back on our kids before they went to school. And my child was having headaches as a result of the mask. And so I went to the board meeting to see, because I didn't know. what was going on. And I don't think a lot of parents do know what's going on. So I showed up, and it was remarkably interesting, to say the least. I was shocked at some of the stuff I heard and saw, especially from like some of the teachers and how the board reacted to different things, and how many people was recording everything. They were recording my reactions, and they were recording anybody who was opposing them, their reaction. And I was just like in shock. But anyway, so going up to the October meeting, I had actually put out on a Facebook post that I was going to be going to the meeting maskless. I would be at the meeting and take my mask off and go maskless for the meeting. And anybody who wanted to join me, they were welcome to, but I was tired of this craziness, and I wanted to prove a point that, we don't need masks. And it's not illegal to not have, to not have a mask on. So I think somebody screenshot that and gave it to the board, and you could see in the October, they have a 2:00 meeting, and then they have a 7 p.m. meeting. In the 2:00 meeting, they mentioned this post. It was not a direct, it was indirect. And they went to executive session after they talked about how they were going to handle, anything that might happen at the October meeting. So anyway, now we'll get right to the October meeting. So I took my mask off, and immediately they were like, anybody who doesn't have a mask on needs to put it on. And they sent one of the assistant superintendents, I think he's assistant superintendent, Al. Yeah. What's his name? Taylor. Yeah. Over, and ma'am, you need to put your mask on. I said, no, I don't believe so. The next thing I know, I'm surrounded by 10 school resource officers, SROs, and great show of intimidation, which didn't work for me because I know the tactics, right? Mm-hmm. So they said, ma'am, can we talk to you outside? I said, no, because, it's my right to be there. I said, no, I'll be glad to talk to you later, whatever, but I'm not leaving. And they're like, they said something, I can't remember what it was. I said, look, my husband's here, he'll bond me out. If you want to take me out, you're going to have to lay hands on me. And so they stopped the meeting, went into another room, and I didn't do anything. I just sat there with no mask on. I think I got up one time and said something like, unmask our children when everybody else did, and then I sat back down and I didn't do anything else the rest of the time. They're the ones who disrupted the meeting, not me. So they went into the other meeting. They stopped it because Karen Watkins and Therese Johnson left the building. So two board members left the building, and they never adjourned the meeting. So anyway, we all left. The SROs followed me out, and they did. They had 20 people trying to talk me into leaving that room, and I refused to leave because it's my right to be there. So we get out there, walking me out. We're having a good conversation because I know a lot of the SROs. In fact, one of them was one of my deputies, and she said, Sarge, can you please go out with me and talk? And I said, no, I'm not going. And so anyway, long story short, they walked me out. 2 weeks later, approximately, I get an email from Gwinnett County Public Schools saying I've been banned for a year for my disruption of the school board meeting in October. And I was fit to be tied. I was so mad.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I went to, I had sent an email to Jorge Gomez. George. We call him Jorge, but his name is George. Okay, so it is Jorge. We spell it a little differently, though.
Jorge, which is Jorge in Spanish.
Yes. Right. Okay. He's Hispanic, and his name is George, but it's spelled Jorge.
Sure.
So he likes George. So we call him Jorge.
Sean, we have to entertain ourselves in some way.
I fully get it, and I got to tell you something. Anybody who listens to my podcast knows that names drive me nuts. And one of the things that honestly, it perplexes me to this day. One of the very first people I met when I became a school teacher, of course I'm not anymore, but the individual's last name was Desjardins. Now that's how they pronounced it, but it's a French name and it's pronounced Desjardins.
Right.
But they didn't know that. And
Oh
I
my
thought
gosh.
to myself, you don't even know how to pronounce your own last name. And he was an assistant superintendent, and here he is standing in front of everybody lecturing everyone, and I thought I'm supposed to take directions from someone who doesn't even know how to pronounce their own name.
Oh my Lord.
Okay, well,
It's just
and
ridiculous.
you'll enjoy this. Whenever I mention his name amongst our group of friends, I say Jorge. So I spell it out WHOREHAY.
There you go.
See?
Yeah.
So
It's phonetically correct,
it's
right?
phonetically correct.
And I have to tell you, there really is a psychological component to that. I think that is really. I mean, it is serious, and it's again,
Yeah.
if an individual is incapable of reality at face value, what else are they not paying attention to? And it's just so indicative of a larger problem. But continue,
Yes.
please.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so I called Jorge and said, what disruption are you talking about? He says, oh, well, you need to talk to Dr. Eric Thigpen. He's in charge of this. So I sent an email to Eric Thigpen, and I said, I would like to be put back on where I can go back to the meeting, because I never got to speak that night. I was signed up to speak, and I never got to. So I wanted to get my speech out there, and he goes, well, you have to talk to him. So from him, and he said, we're going to have to investigate it. And I said, okay, how long do you think it'll take? And he was like, well, I don't know. I said, okay. So I started looking into it a little bit more and started talking with everybody in our little group. And turns out that the Gwinnett County NAACP chair, Penny Poole, was also issued a ban in April of 2021 for a year. And she was back at the May meeting. So I thought that they had actually allowed her back in. So I sent an email to Eric Thigpen and said, I would like the same treatment that you gave Penny Poole. I would like to be back at the November meeting without any cause, without any reaction, because you did it for her, you need to do it for me. And so I never heard anything. So I just went ahead and showed up because, it's a public meeting. I paid for it. It's paid for by the taxpayers. Last time I checked, I've been paying for 30 some odd years for that building. And so I went and showed up. And this was a night that in November we had a lot of parents who were serving affidavits that night.
Mm-hmm.
And we were saying, you can't keep us masked and whatnot. And we were told common law is not respected there, had no place there. We were demanding to see the superintendent or their attorney or somebody to come out and talk to us. Of course, they wouldn't do it. As soon as we walked in, of course, Jorge says, hey, there's Karen Purple. She's got a criminal trespass. She needs to be arrested. Well, nobody laid hands on me for a good 5 minutes. Because we were saying we need to see this person, we want to see the chief of police, we want to see somebody needs to come out and talk to us. Of course, nobody would. So there's a line of SROs, and there was a break in the line. When I say there was a line, there was probably 7 lined up.
Yeah.
Trying to prevent us from going in. This is the same night that they had the first time the metal detector.
Yes.
This is all intimidation things that they're trying to get us scared and not go speak at the school board meeting.
Yeah.
Well, you can't intimidate me because I'm going to speak my mind. And so there was a little hole in the wall of SROs, and I walked through it and started toward the meeting. And somebody grabbed me from behind and arrested me. And
yeah, it was so chaotic. I was one of a few that got escorted out, but I got a chance to talk to one of the SROs, and I asked him point blank, why are you allowing this school to make you break your oath of office.
There we go.
I said, why are you letting them do this to you? Why are you their goon? What are they doing that is making you think this is okay? And, Sean, I wasn't sure that I got through to him, but through a FOIA request, we were able to get some body cam footage. And the same gentleman that I just kept going on and on to him about, why are you breaking your oath of office? Why would you do that for these people? And he walked by a fellow SRO, looked right at him and said, I hate my job.
He said, this job sucks.
This job sucks. Yeah.
Yep.
I know that. Yes. Yeah. So I know I got to him. I knew he knew what he was doing was wrong. And while Karen was getting arrested, so was Brenda. But Brenda's was at the metal detector, and I'm going to let her quickly share what happened to her.
So, gosh, I'm just trying to think of kind of where to start. So Karen was getting arrested. I came in.
You want? Sorry,
yeah.
my phone.
So I came in, and it was chaotic. I wasn't actually even supposed to be there. I decided at the last minute to go. Came in. It was chaotic. People were protesting. People were yelling. You're violating my civil rights. It was crazy. So I come in, and they're arresting, soon after I get there, they're arresting Karen, and I start to video because they're being kind of rough. At some point, they're taking her away, and she says, can somebody get my phone? So they're taking her away pretty quickly, and they had these metal detectors. So I set my purse down on a table, went through the metal detectors, got her phone, came back. They had picked up my purse, and pulled out a pair of preschool safety scissors and said, you can't take these in. I went to reach and show her that they were like blunt tip, you can rub your finger back and forth across the scissors and can't cut yourself. And ended up getting arrested in that process. So,
yes. For obstruction.
Okay.
And it took five officers to slam Brenda up against the wall because of TSA approved safety scissors because she was going to crochet during the meeting.
So you can take these, and this is the thing that I think, for me, it's all like, it does kind of just all blend together because it's been so much time. But I took the scissors intentionally. It wasn't like, oops, I just forgot I had a pocket knife. No, the meetings are extremely boring. I was going to crochet in there. So when she told me I couldn't take them in, it certainly was surprising. It wasn't like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, we give these to preschoolers. And I mean that legitimately. They are preschool, round tip safety scissors. Yeah. So when I reached for them, they lost their minds, and they were rough. I mean, they like Dina said, we have this on video, and it's really surreal looking at it because all these SROs like push me into the wall, and by the time they pushed me to the wall, I was raising hell for sure, like dropping about 60 F-bombs at that point. So, beyond that, like, I just don't want to focus too much on that. Of course, being arrested, that's important. But our picture is so much bigger than that with all of, what they're trying to do and the board and the, CRT and all of that is kind of what we're
dealing with. And they are, Sean, these board members are, like, especially Dr. Therese Johnson, who was just named our chairperson now. This woman has made Tucker Carlson for her TikTok videos. They are that scary. She is an anti-white, restorative justice, it has just snowballed in such a short period of time, the damage that they have done. And I know that I mentioned something called Education 2025. And every parent needs to figure out what this is and what it means, because
is it education or learning?
Both. It's both.
Okay.
It goes by learning.
I need to verify that in my head.
Well, so This is something that the think tank, the Association of Superintendents, came up with. And they say it out loud that because of the crisis of COVID, this is a good time to tear down what we know as our current education system and build it back. Build it back.
Equity. That is the word of the
social emotional learning. They are, with this program, going to write parents out completely. Everything is going to be data driven, data mining. If your child's accelerated learner, they are going to be put in front of a computer. There are not going to be one teacher. It's going to be a pod, and then they're going to bring in resources from the community, and you will not know who is feeding into your child's mind at that point. It is World Economic Forum, Agenda 2030. It is all that for our education system. It is radical. It is dangerous, and we must stop it. It is... I just can't even, by the time they're done, everybody is going to graduate as a gender fluid person, basically. And I kid you not. They will have our kids questioning everything they thought they knew is true. Everything that we've written on the slates of our children will be erased, and they will write on their slates. And we can't have it. I think it's time that parents need to pick a side, and they need to decide, do you want this, or do you want to keep your kid at home, start teaching them, form pods, do it yourself. I was talking to Karen earlier today. Both my parents had an 8th grade education, Sean. We grew up in a Mennonite community in Pennsylvania, and I used to think that it was just awful that my dad only went to 8th grade with his education. I didn't think that was good enough. But everything he needed to learn to be successful, he learned in a one-room schoolhouse in 8 years.
Yep.
He was successful. He was a truck driver. My mom could stay home with us. He ended up building a business. Our kids don't need 40 hours a week of education. They don't. And we need to really get smart about this. We need to quit letting people tell us that our instincts aren't good enough, that we don't know enough about our kids. It's really scary, Sean. We're going to lose, and we're going to lose big.
This is heartbreaking. All of this is just heartbreaking. And,
it is.
And it really has to give a person listening to this pause, because, you're a group of very intelligent women who live in one area.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone. This is happening everywhere.
It is. And
it was certainly planned. All of this has been planned for a very, very long time. We're talking about well over 150 years. The plan was to destroy the family, American education, replace government as the parent, and then you'll have the child for a lifetime.
That's exactly right. And, even that little small town that I grew up in and graduated from high school there, I looked, and they are implementing Education 2025.
One thing that I want to say as well is that I think a lot of, and I think colleges in general, of course, but Ivy League, like where Everton Blair, up until recently, was our chairperson, he was going to run for state superintendent, and has now backed out of the race. How old is he? 28?
Yeah, 28.
Anyway,
gay, black, no children.
And yells that, by the way, from the rooftop.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
not like, you know what I mean? Like, that's literally in every bio that he writes.
Yes.
But is that they are kind of producing these leaders to come out and to go onto school boards on a local grassroots kind of level and start making changes. And that, from my perspective, that is exactly where it started. We had a board. It wasn't all conservative. We have Louise Radcliffe.
Yes.
Radcliffe. Anyway, whatever. She and she flip-flopped back and forth. I don't know if you guys know that, but she was Democrat and Republican and Democrat. But
depending on what the voters were.
right. She's like 800 years old. And so, we needed some changes on the board, but Everton came on, and the timing was really fascinating because COVID hit, and it really just opened the door for him to jump in and kind of, again, start yelling, from the rooftops about his views. And then he recruited, I believe, Teresa and Karen, didn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He started recruiting. So this is kind of how, so we've gone from Harvard, I don't know, he's not Columbia, he's Stanford and Harvard, I think, and Teresa's Columbia. Mm-hmm. But, so he went to high school in Gwinnett County. So then he comes back, gets on the board. 90% of his funds were from out of state, that for his local school boys, like a 26-year-old guy, California, New York, Washington State, and Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And where?
Virginia,
yeah. So this guy, he raised probably $20,000 at least on a local school board level, and then came in. And really, when I look at it, he's kind of the, he's just
instigator. I call him the instigator.
He's the seed, he was
the seed.
Yeah, it just kind of planted it. Now it's like growing out of control, and we're all like scrambling to try to get our arms around what do we do to preserve the system, and what do we do to, keep our kids safe and sane, and
Yeah, and an assigned gender that they were born with.
Correct.
That's a concern.
It's very much a concern. I've been arguing with a teacher online about that. Yeah, about how there's not two genders.
Yeah,
there's
that's
more.
Scary. Sean, how do these teachers get these positions when they don't know that there's male and female when you're born? That is undeniable.
And I have boy-girl twins, by the way, so don't tell me that there's no such thing.
Yeah, that's right.
One was born with the penis, one was born with the vagina, period, end of story.
Yes.
And see, now that you've just said that, a liberal's head just exploded somewhere. What did she say? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's, when you have to start questioning, I mean, seriously, Sean, I can't tell you how many times I have said, I feel like I am living in a Saturday Night Live skit. Like this can't possibly be happening. How are these people so ignorant to just facts? So parents really do need to band together. I'll tell you what, these last 2 years have sucked. I did not want to be fighting, but I have made the best friends. And
I didn't want to go to jail.
I know. They didn't want to go to jail either, but you got to do what you got to do. We're fighting like it's a war, and they have realized that we don't back down. We are not losers.
We do have a good group, and we're very blessed in that. We do have a large group. I say large. I mean, it's all relative, not compared to 180,000 students, but we do have a large group of parents that speak out, that we're trying to get new school board members on. We're really advocating. So, we're definitely putting boots on the ground in terms of trying to get things done on a local level, as well as gain awareness on a more, national level, state level, and national level.
Yeah, we just got to make sure that parents don't give up, Sean. They cannot give up. If we give up, if everyone gives up, we will lose everything.
Yeah, you can give up on a school district. What you can't do is you can't give up on your child.
Right.
You have to save your child from these places. I mean, it's the old horse to water thing. You can shout from the mountaintops all you want about how other people need to wake up to what is being done to their own children. But if they themselves as parents don't wake up to what's going on with their own children, eventually you've got to walk away from those people, because they will bring you down and make you unhealthy in the process. It really is just an innate quality, I think, or characteristic of all humans, yourselves included, me as well, to want to help, and just want to help people see the truth as to what's going on, even when their children are not yours. And you want to say, hey,
Right.
look, here's what's going on. Here's what I see. Here's what we recommend. And again, if it goes in one of their ears and out the other, time after time, there's nothing that can be done there.
No. And I think that it requires a deeper understanding, Sean, that the reason why we are where we are is because they have put us into a debt system. We have been put on the hamster wheel on purpose to take moms out of the home. We have really lost control. And that's why we have so many parents that say, I can't homeschool. I have to work. And that was by design. We know that now.
Sure.
So it's it's a big fight, but we can't give up on our kids.
Agreed. And one of the things I'll mention this briefly, but one of the things that's happening here where I live, and for numerous reasons, very similar to your experiences, of course, as well, because again, this is happening everywhere, regardless of the demographics. I might add, this Marxist ideology is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We've got parents so addicted to the school system that their children are openly being abused physically within these, and sexually, I might add, within these school systems, and the parents are fighting to get their child back into these school systems.
That's so sad.
It is, and that right there should tell people the depth of the brainwashing, because that's the real Stockholm syndrome. You're sympathizing and empathizing with the abusive environment, because as far as you're concerned, that's all you know, and they have no idea how green things can be on the other side of the hill. But they got to make their way over that hill, and that right there is what is getting students killed, and it's what's destroying the minds of these minors. It really does have to do with the lack of real leadership. And the lack of brainwashing among their own parents.
Right.
Well, one of the things that we've noticed and this is Karen, by the way, one of the things that we've noticed at Gwinnett County is the restorative justice that they've started doing.
Yeah.
Since they've been doing that, we have had 20 to 30 fights in one particular school. And this is like 2 or 3 fights a week, sometimes 2 a day. And nothing is being done to these students to make it safe. And as a result, nobody wants to be at school. The teachers don't want to be there. And one of the things that we've always said is that we need the metal detectors in our schools because of the weapons that are being brought in, as opposed to the one that's at the school board meeting to intimidate the parents. And that's what's going on, is they're intimidating the parents. They're skewing all kinds of data to make it look like African Americans and Hispanics are treated differently in the discipline realm of the schools.
Disparate impact.
Yes.
What?
Disparate impact, that's the word.
Oh, disparate.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And so all of this together is what we're fighting. And I feel like that, they're really trying to push the parents away, which they are, and pulling in the parents who are brainwashed. And I had no clue that until August that all this was really going on.
Yeah.
I really had no clue.
And Sean, in one of your podcasts, I remember very vividly that you said, we don't have a school to jail pipeline. We have a jail to jail pipeline, right?
Right.
That really is true. And they really want to stop this school to prison pipeline when it is prison to prison pipeline. And it's backfiring. They really want us to believe that subjectively, because teachers are so systemically racist, that all these poor Black children are getting in trouble. right? That this is just systemic racism. But if you can do math and you know that the majority of your school population is Black, would that then not make sense that more of the disciplinary problems would be from Black children? And just like if there was more white children, it would be white children. But they play with words. They play with numbers, and what we have as a result is we have Instagram channels that are dedicated to some of our schools' fight videos. This is what our children, and as a mom, I say, if my kid is the one filming, he's going to lose his phone for the rest of his life. If he is not there to help the poor teacher that's lying on the floor, it's crazy, Sean. It's never going to get solved. It's going to get worse.
Another thing we've seen lately is the mandatory masking just was after 2 years, Gwinnett County. And by the way, this is Brenda. I don't know if anyone said this, but Gwinnett County is actually one of the most diverse counties in the country.
Yes.
I mean, it's very diverse. So it's not like it's totally homogenous as we talk about these issues.
Yeah, right.
But one of the things, so recently the mask mandate was lifted, and they changed it to mask heavily recommended. Heavily, or what is it?
Yeah.
Strongly recommended. But we've got kids now posting Snapchats or Instagrams where they're taking pictures of kids who are not wearing masks.
Yes.
And then so it's become kind of almost like a bullying thing. And interestingly enough, my daughter, and we had to laugh about it really, but went into a class recently, and she went in because I wouldn't let them wear masks because there's in our entire cluster where my kids go to school, which is huge, there's 0 cases, and my kids are vaccinated. And, it's just such a crazy time. But she goes into class, and one of the kids said, "Oh, look, only the white kids aren't wearing masks."
Yeah, and that's where this is going. Now we have the opposite problem.
My point, yes, and my point is that it's division. It's divisiveness. It's not even about the color of your skin. It's about pitting politics and race against one another instead of it being just about common sense.
Right. It's all about the oppressor versus the oppressed. We even have teachers. Now, if I send my child to school without a mask, that means that's a choice as a parent I made for my child. But then you have teachers that are standing at the buses handing out masks before the kids go into school. Talk about mixed messages. Like,
what did the elementary school children do with that? Because they're more laid back.
They are. Yeah.
Except for I told you, Dina, that there is a kid. I went to my youngest parent-teacher conference, and the teacher told me that one of the kids is double masked. This is a kid in 5th grade. Wears double masks with a coffee filter stapled in between, and will only touch things with his elbows. I'm not kidding, guys. This is not hyperbole. Like the teacher told me this. He will only touch stuff with his elbows and just triple mask basically. But in general, I think the elementary school kids are
that's a CPS report for abuse.
Yeah,
like that's disgusting. But Sean, it's just we are up to our eyeballs in this fight. Like I told you, we have done bonds against our superintendent. We did the affidavits. Now we're working on legislation. School board member races. We're all over the place. And every now and then you get the feeling that you're winning because of their reactions.
Sure.
Now when our people sign up to speak, which, by the way, now they decided that 50% of the speakers on the list, Sean, should be children. Because, children, we should be listening to our children much more. Well, in my house, I'm the boss. My child doesn't have a fully developed frontal lobe, which is exactly why I'm his mom. Yeah. I don't need going to speak in public about wanting more choices of ice cream, and that's what student council is for. Like, did we forget that? But now we have lost 50% of our speaking spots at our school board meetings because these children need to be listened to. We need to listen to them now.
And they're usually handpicked by Dr. Therese Johnson.
Yes.
The most radical of the radical.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and all of that's on purpose too. None of that's an accident. It's done to chew up time.
Yep.
And using children for their own political means is just another tactic in their playbook.
Yeah, and to me, to listen to some of these children just tells me what their parents are like. Yep. I mean, it doesn't tell me anything other than that poor kid. I mean, he or she needs to probably read more, because, but I grew up where we were to be seen and not heard, and that sounds mean, and there's something to be said for that. I learned a lot. When your mouth is open, your ears work better. I mean, when your mouth is closed, your ears work better. So,
well, we were raised by hardworking individuals.
Yes.
Whether again they be World War II vets or XYZ, and when you sat around your elders, you kept your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And you listened, and listening was a skill that you acquired. And it became a characteristic, and you can learn a whole lot more from listening than you can running your mouth, which unfortunately is what many youth today think that they can do and sound more intelligent in doing so. And the exact opposite is true.
Yeah, how little they know. Yeah, it's just crazy, Sean. But
let me ask you some questions if you still have some time. Again, I could do this all day. Let me ask you some questions about the teacher perspective here. During these board meetings, I would assume that no teachers were standing up and speaking out against anything. What was occurring during those board meetings with teachers?
There's only been a couple who have stood out and said anything, and their thoughts align with the three radical liberals on the board.
All the conservative, or even remotely in the ballpark of conservative teachers, they message us directly behind the scenes, but never stand up.
Yeah.
In that same vein, then, how can you gauge the teacher morale there?
You can't. It's really hard because, the liberals are the loudest. And sometimes it makes you think that they're all there is.
Right.
I think that we're crappy right now.
But the morale is crappy. They know that they're going to have trouble with teacher retention.
And we know that they see us because I've gotten emails from teachers. I don't know if y'all have, but I've gotten emails from teachers saying, thank you for speaking up. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And I'm like, I didn't ask to get arrested. I don't want to represent that. But you know what? I would do it again.
Yeah.
If my husband would let me.
Yeah. These teachers, the quiet ones, they will quietly leave. That's what will happen.
Yeah, that was basically my next question. How's the teacher turnover rate there?
Oh, they're struggling.
I don't know what the actual retention. I know that there's just a lot of rumblings with people leaving. But as far as like pure statistics, Sean, this is Brenda, I don't really know. But again, I think that we are right on the cusp of just people are unhappy all the way around. There's just a lot of frustration, discontent. There's a lot of talk of teachers leaving. Pure statistics, I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
Well, I can give you a pure statistic. Okay, they're struggling to get enough substitute teachers in there because the teachers are leaving.
Yeah,
or they're calling out sick
or
or whatever, and the substitute teachers won't go in as long as there's masks and stuff like that. Now I can go in, but I was a substitute teacher and I wouldn't go in because of the mask rule. Mm-hmm. But the teachers leaving, I feel like right and left, they won't admit it.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten to quite that point yet where their contracts are up, where they need to say yes or no, I'm coming back, or I want to come back. I think this summer I think next year is going to look different. I think in the fall it's going to look different.
Yeah, I really think that this is just another example of the entire house of cards is falling, and there's nothing that can be done to prop it back up. You have, as I've said on the podcast on numerous occasions, the wick is burning at both ends. Within teacher education programs, they're completely infiltrated now with Marxists. I know of very few, even I would say the smallest colleges in the smallest rural towns are even starting to get individuals who want to teach teachers the most radical way of behaving. And again, they're not concerned with teaching subject matter or even the truth about the business, which is really one of the failing parts of teacher education programs, is they don't teach them all of the different things that can cost a teacher their job. And how, as a school teacher in particular today, you are walking on such thin ice that it's indescribable. But now, of course, the die has been cast with all of the abuse that's taken place, that to actually want to be a teacher these days, you have to be 100% fine with child abuse as being, as being a characteristic of the job. And and teachers are leaving now within every month of the year. Whereas, it used to be at the end of the beginning of the summer or during the summer or, maybe a Christmas break. Now they're leaving every month of the year. And like you've all said, the school district will never look inward as them being the problem and being responsible for what's going on. Because the second that they do that, the second they admit fault, they're going to have to admit fault with everything else. And they don't want to do that either. Like you said too, again, with the race manipulation and the statistic manipulation with race and grades and scores and violence and all of it. The inmates are running the asylum, and I just don't think there's any saving it. Which again, if you've decided to homeschool, you've saved your mind, and you've saved your child's mind. And that has to happen.
We're talking
and it's time that, I was one of those parents that just thought, oh my gosh, I could never homeschool my children. I want to have a career, and homeschoolers, they just don't achieve as much. Oh my gosh, I was so wrong. Because now that I'm at the age where some of my friends that have homeschooled, their children are so well adjusted. They get into great universities. I actually just hired, I'm a business owner. I just hired a fabulous mom. I focus on those stay-at-home moms that are willing to transfer now that their kids are older into a career. And so I help them make that adjustment. And I just hired someone, 12 students she homeschooled, 12 children she homeschooled. They are all at great universities, have great jobs, are well adjusted. And what a big regret I have, not thinking that I couldn't do the same. And I know that's by design. I know that our world has taught me that. It's indoctrination. But, we don't give ourselves enough of credit as moms at all, that we are perfectly capable of doing it. You're right.
Yeah, I've met more people that say what you just said than I have the opposite. And I have yet to meet anybody who homeschooled and said that they would, or that homeschools and says that they regret it. In fact, they always say, why didn't I do this sooner? I should have done this sooner. If my child can read, they can teach themselves. They don't even need me around. There are too many learning tools that exist and too many ways to find answers to questions and problems that as harsh as this might sound, the role of a classroom teacher is borderline obsolete at this point. And I know that that's raining on a parade of a lot of good people, but at the same time, if we don't evolve as families and people in society, then look what happens. You leave your children to the wolves, and you won't have to wait until college for your child to hate you as a parent. It's already happening in elementary school.
Oh, absolutely. And they're moving, and I see it now because they've implemented monthly asynchronous learning. Do you know what that is, Sean?
I'm familiar, but please go ahead.
It's a digital learning day, which is basically a day off. But I guess they do homework. They log in. I have a high schooler. He sleeps till 2:00. I don't wake him up. It's a waste. It is a complete waste. It is basically an apology method for the teachers. Sorry, we gave you too much administrative work, taking you away from your main career, which is teaching the children. But here, have a day off. That's basically what it is in a nutshell. Our children, honestly, why we think they need 7-8 hours of school every day is ridiculous. That just gives that much more time for all the indoctrination BS. Reading, writing, arithmetic. That's what they, that's what they need. And we've just handed them over for, a 40-hour work week because that's what we work.
I homeschooled this is Brenda. I homeschooled for the first semester of my youngest daughter, and then made the decision to get her back in. She's very social, and I certainly don't regret homeschooling her. I am questioning putting her back in. But with being arrested, honestly, that kind of threw everything sideways as well. But homeschooling her was great. She's very bright. It was such a great opportunity for me to understand her learning style and, for her to get that one-on-one attention. And I say this to everybody, but we could get 3 times as much done in half the time.
Exactly. I only have one more in high school. He's going to graduate next year. And really, he's the type of kid that wishes that he had more periods to take more classes because, there's just so many great classes to choose from. He's like his dad. I'm not like that. I was not, I was an entrepreneur. I'll just leave it at that. But, and I didn't, my other son is in college, so I did not homeschool him either. But, again, I wish I did. So.
And this is Karen. After my second arrest, I pulled mine from school right before it, because of all this that was going on, and put her in a private school, which was one of the best decisions we've made. And I don't know how long with her schooling.
Yeah.
But I did that mainly because we went ahead with it because they did criminal trespass me from all Gwinnett County school properties after my second arrest.
Forever. She can never, ever, ever go back on a Gwinnett school property.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? You know what I love that Karen did? She never formally withdrew her child when she entered into her private school. And, they were coming after her for truancy. But it's like Karen said, how was I going to withdraw her? I'm not allowed on the property. Like, you did this, not me.
Yeah.
So
I had to, play with them a little bit.
It's just also outrageous.
I don't see a district that large that is willing to actually go to the lengths of recruiting radicals from out of state on the other side of the country. If they're willing to do that, I don't see them improving anything because, as I mentioned earlier, they're now purposefully hiring not just administrators that are of like mind, but they're only hiring teachers that are of like mind. And that's part of, again, that Education 2025 plan, which you described earlier briefly.
Right.
Part of that intentional plan is to use this manufactured crisis to hire only individuals that align with themselves politically.
Yes.
And then before you know it, the entire business And it is an unfortunate business, but the entire business is going to be run and taught by the most immoral, because it's weeding out the moral people.
Right. And, in that report for Education 2025, it specifically says this, and this is very, very scary. And if parents aren't scared by this, then you need to check your pulse. It says, engage all educators in personal identity exploration to determine how their identities intersect with others and are revealed through the engineering of learning experiences. How scary is that, Sean?
Yeah, it's designed to make everybody like a bowl of Jello. They just want everybody to be this exact same, and when one side of the jar wiggles, then everybody else has to wiggle too. It's disgusting.
I mean, our children will know Marxist ideology, and they will not know what gender they are. That is exactly what will graduate in 2025.
Well, what's interesting too is the workplace environment after school, whether that be again after college or even after high school. These workplace environments, some of them are shifting in that leftist ideology, and then others are not. And the ones that are not are saying, wow, in these interviews, these people applying for these jobs, they're just saying, you're the dumbest person I've ever heard. We're not hiring you.
They want the corner office too.
There you go. Yeah. And you've probably heard me say it on the podcast. I had a guy on from a Texas college, and this is happening in the trade schools as well.
Yes.
This entire ideology has worked its way right down into the trade schools, to where you're not actually working on an engine for a car, learning how to be a mechanic, but you're slipping on a virtual reality mask, and you're working on an engine in a virtual reality environment.
That is so ridiculous.
And then and then of course they're just checking off all the correct boxes in oh yes, they did it and they're qualified and they'll be just fine. And then they actually have to work on an engine and they don't know what they're doing.
Yes, which is my husband is a mechanical engineer, and he definitely sees that coming up with these young mechanics. They cannot troubleshoot for some reason. It's great that they have the computer skills, but now they can't troubleshoot. They can't problem solve. That's why we need to exit trade schools. We need on-the-job training. We need apprenticeships.
Yep.
We need to go back to the way it used to be, when your dad owned the business and he trained you. He trained you. He gave you your skills, and then you took the business. We have to get back to that.
And teaching, just teaching people to think.
Yes. Yeah.
Just think.
I mean, it's really, really scary. And as a business owner, hopefully I get to retire before I have to look at these generations that are coming up as potential employees, because they cannot problem solve. They cannot critically think. Critically thinking now means Marxism. That's where it goes. It goes right to Marxism. And it's so funny, because when I call it out, when I call it for what it is, it's so funny that the actual Marxists get so offended by me pointing out that they're Marxists. And they don't believe it. They have to, unless they're just really, really that stupid, which could be the case.
Well,
but
they're brainwashed.
They're brainwashed. And when you call them out for that, they're just so insulted. And I thought, you know what? Whatever you're going to be in your life, be proud of it. If you want to be a Marxist, then shout it from the rooftops and be proud of it. But don't deny it.
Right.
That just makes you look silly.
Well, it's just like the board meetings with all the police officers. The reason that they bring them all in is they use violence as the excuse. They'll say, well, we fear that there might be violence, and that all of these concerned people are concerned over nothing, but they have the potential to be violent. When in fact, the only thing that they're afraid of is having their illusion shattered. by individuals telling the truth within these meetings about what's going on within their entire district.
Right. And our chairperson, Dr. Johnson, who is just an activist and everything else bad.
We call her TikTok Therese.
Yeah, we do call her TikTok Therese because her TikTok videos went viral for all the wrong reasons. But we kind of helped that happen. But she absolutely just kept saying she felt threatened. And we kept saying, where's the threat? Tell us the threat. So through FOIA requests, we were able to get, and Sean, this goes to our Solicitor General. He came out and did a press conference and really put down some intimidating tactics against the parents. You know, TJ, TikTok Therese, she threatened to go to the FBI. She even put in, I read some reports because some people thought that they were allegedly almost assaulted at the May insurrection. And I read through these reports, and Dr. Johnson said that she had made a report with the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, the GBI, only to come down through the last of the reports where they kind of wrapped up what they found. The cop called the GBI, and she lied. The GBI never heard of her. She did not file a report with the GBI.
Yep.
Right there on board with the FBI. What's his name? Merrick Garland.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of these things are just lies, and we're figuring them out. And these false police reports that are being filed, like that's got to stop. And these are the things. I mean, we're not stopping. We're trying. We've been talking with the state attorney general. We are, following your lead. We're going to the sheriff, asking for investigations. We're not stopping, and
I think we've got them running scared right now. Because, and this is Karen, by the way. I think that they're kind of running scared because every time we do something, they strike back, intimidating us. Like the first was the arrest, and then the metal detectors, and then this, and then that. And they keep coming back with new rules. And, I think slowly but surely they're realizing we're not going away.
And we have that one, really cool piece of paper called the Constitution that they can't change, and it never changes because it's timeless. So I think that they're going to figure out that at the end of the day, they're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting again to see whether or not prosecutors are willing to take up these cases. And again, having talked with a local prosecutor, I can tell you that, that's not an easy task.
Mm-mm.
A lot of them do not want to touch any of this because, again, as the guy told me, he said, look, regardless of the issue, he said, if we can't get 12 jurors to say guilty and it's 100% provable across the board, again, regardless of the issue, then they're not even going to touch the case.
Right.
I mean, we can bring them all the state codes we want. We can show them all the federal and international laws that have been broken, again, regardless of the issue. And it'll only go as far depending on the knowledge of the actual prosecutor or sheriff themselves. And, they can, I mean, the advice that he gave me was a political, I mean, it's just political advice. He said, run for school board and, talk with your local politicians and state legislators, and that's how you get in and that's how you change things. And I'm saying, nah, I'd rather stand on a mountaintop and scream at everybody to run over here because it's not burning over here.
That's right.
And then just let the whole thing crumble.
Yep. And that's exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah.
That there will be a mass exodus of children from the public schools. It's happening. I heard that LA Unified School District, 50% of their students exited. 50%.
Yeah.
And around Kent, Washington, 55,000 children left the public school system. That hurts. That will defeat their funding.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to do.
The buildings will cease to exist. They'll have to sell the building. They'll have to sell the property. They consolidate all of their teachers then into another building. It's happened in schools in Kentucky that I know of. Previous guests have described that to me. It's happening everywhere, and of course, as you would expect, the mainstream media is not bringing up any of it at all. They don't.
That's because they need us to know that we're alone.
That's right. Yeah.
That our experiences are totally independent and they don't exist anywhere else. So just shut up and get your kid on the school bus.
Yeah, be a good parent.
Right.
Shut the hell up.
Yeah. Be a good parent and hand your kid over to government. Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly.
Because they know better.
So let me ask you this then, just kind of in wrapping up, and this is the last question I have, and anything else you want to add, please go for it. What do you see as being the future of maybe not just Gwinnett County, but nationwide? And I know that's a broad question, and we've kind of already covered it a little bit, but just one at a time, if you can, provide your input on that.
I think in the future, we're going to see grassroots schools. We're going to see an explosion of pods where teachers from public schools go into the homeschool matrix, where they're joining up and teaching pods of children. I think that we're going to see a growth of private schools. I think that it's going to be inevitable that we're going to start seeing the voucher system start getting passed in states and giving the taxpayer, the parent, the choice of what kind of education that they want. It's funny because, yes, we pay for taxes, we pay to fund our schools, but in our day-to-day life, it's almost like that's our free choice. And let's face it, when it's free, it doesn't mean it's good. That sometimes you have to invest. So my hope and maybe my prayer is that women, moms, that we get back to a place where we know that we're good enough and that we can make the best decisions nobody else can for our children. And that we do see a complete implosion of public education before this education 2025 takes over. Karen?
I see this entire nation going downhill. I see that this nation is, the Constitution isn't going to mean anything to a lot of people. And until we raise up and say no more, until we think about what our forefathers went through to make this happen for us and make this a free country, that we're not going to make any progress as far as conservatism, and that's really not the word I want to use. But I have this feeling that Bernie Sanders of the world are going to win for a while. I just pray that because of what we have now as a president, that maybe we can flip it in a couple of years and get back to basics. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, as long as the Act Blues are out there and the people who are the Microsoft owner, what's his name, Bill Gates and the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, the social media giants who put these influences on our children. And until we can stop that completely, and that includes Disney and all their stuff, that includes Pixar, that includes, teachers who may not speak the fact that they approve of Black Lives Matter or the gay pride, but they have it all over their computer. where you see it, or they, they have signs or whatever. They're not verbalizing it, but they're actually putting it out there. And until we stop all that, for lack of a better term, indoctrination, we're not gonna. This country is not going to survive as a constituted republic. That's my take on it.
I tend to agree. I think it has to get a whole lot worse in order to wake up more people, and I don't even think we're there yet.
Unfortunately, yeah, I think you're right.
And as sad as that sounds, and as frightening as that may be, and it's not meant to, it's not meant to be a doomer kind of attitude. I just don't think we're there yet. I still don't think that enough people understand how bad things are, how insidious the behavior is from elected officials, right down to, again, your average school teacher, and how the examples that they set are really rubbing off on endless generations of people, and that's going to have some bad consequences.
Absolutely.
And the SEL and the CRT and everything else that they're teaching, this has been going on for so long. If you think about it, they've been brainwashed since the 50s and 60s, and even before then, that the government needs to take care of them. The government will take care of them. Don't worry about it. We'll be there for you. We'll put you on welfare, and we'll take care of you. And so the mindset of the government's going to do all right by us is there. It's already been brainwashed into the 50-year-olds and the 40-year-olds, and now we're seeing it cascading down at a rapid pace now.
I think that there is hope, but you're right. It's going to have to get worse. Mm-hmm. There's still too many normies out there that just don't get it. They just are not seeing those empty store shelves. They're just not getting it. They're willing to pay high gas prices for Ukraine. Well, I don't want the Ukrainian people to suffer, but I'm not willing to pay higher gas prices. I'm sorry. If that means if I have to do that to support Ukraine, then I'm out. I'm just not that person. I know what's going on over in Ukraine. A lot of people don't. And, so it's just a measure of the mockingbird media. And once that implodes, the school system will be right behind it. And maybe we'll wake up with, a new sense of what we are actually capable of doing all by ourselves. We can only wish for it, Sean.
Yeah, I think we can make it happen, though, too. And the more that we can start to behave individually, because again, a long, long time ago, all of these systems and education institutions and whatever, they hate individuality. They just hate it. And the moment that I started to hear that, even when I was a college student, I thought to myself, well, why is it that they are so untrusting of an individual take on things? And the most logical answer is simple. They want a collective take on things. They just want everybody to agree on everything all of the time, and that's the way it has to be. And again, the only way to crash that car is to run it right into a brick wall and get them to understand that collective attitude is not the way to go.
Nope. But the collective attitude, you can easily hide your dissenters, right? So if you're in a collective and you don't agree, you just get hidden by the masses. So, really come to figure out what independent thinking, how dangerous it is to their schemes. And we have to embrace that.
And get more parents somehow to embrace it. Not even parents, Sean. Grandparents, taxpayers, people who care about what our children are learning. And a lot of people think, I don't have children in the school system. No, you've got your future leaders, your representatives. I don't want to use the word leaders because I don't believe that they're leaders. I think they're followers.
Yeah.
But our representatives,
Mhm.
we need smart people to get into the representative aspect that who will not embrace that collective thinking. And that's why more and more we need every adult out there to understand that it's not just parents. It's not just us. It's everyone that needs to get involved.
Yeah.
As the dog agrees with me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear her dog.
See? Even the dog knows we're right.
Yes,
Right.
yes, he's smart.
It's absolutely remarkable. I mean, you should be commended for what you've done. You've been standing up for children whose own parents won't stand up for them, and they don't even know it. The walls of their prison are invisible. They have no idea what they're involved in. They have no idea what they're serving their children up for, and it's evident that you've all been standing up for even them as parents, whether they know it or not. And clearly, most of them don't know it, but I'm sure some of them do. And like you said, they'll even reach out to you in email and say thank you, and we agree with you, and all of this other stuff. Same thing with the teachers. I mean, there's great teachers out there too, but yeah, you should be applauded for what you've done, and I wish you the best in the future. And if you have any updates as to what's going on locally, feel free and come back.
Oh, absolutely. Our pleasure, Sean. Keep on doing what you're doing. I can't tell you how much you've helped me over the last 8 months. That's why I wrote to you. I'm glad that it resulted in a conversation, and we're not giving up. So we will definitely keep you posted.
Can I just say, Gwinnett County Schools, we're coming after you.
We are not giving up.
That's right.
Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.